Hello all. So I hope you all have given your CAT exams. Now, because our other exams are nearby, right? So we are starting with our AdMath strategies and different session on about how to crack SNAP, how to crack IIFT, how to crack ZAT, right? Now, this session is all about how to crack SNAP, right? Now, what we'll cover in the session, we would cover basically the pattern of SNAP, right? And different cutoff of different colleges, plus how to start your preparation, right? And we'll also see the section wise breakup of the different questions that generally come in snap, and how to prepare on those topics. Okay, so I'll just share my screen with you all, right? So let's start then. Okay, so we start from here, right? So yeah, so as you all know, right, uh, the topics that we would be covering is exam pattern, different cutoffs, right? Section and analysis of different parts of the snap, exam strategy, and what to do next, right? So these are the four different sections on which I'll focusing my whole this session on, right? So let's start with the first one, which is the snap pattern. So you already know that this year's snap is being conducted on 10th, 18th, and 23rd of December, right? Now, 18th, it might be clashing with some of your IIFT exams. If you're giving an IIFT exam, uh, and snap attempt 2 is also on 18th, right? So uh, it will be colliding with the exam, right? Now what you can do in that case is, if your 10th 12th graduation scores are good, right, and if you're prepared with IIFT, or if you want to go give an attempt for that, because obviously IIFT is only on one day, that's on 18th. Snap you can even go on 23rd and 10th, right? So in that case, I will suggest you to give your IIFT paper, right? Now, so you have 10th, 18th, and 23rd. Now, the thing is, this snap paper is not normalized, right? Like for example, it might be that you would be giving 10th attempt, or you would be getting 18th of December attempt, or you might be giving 23rd of December attempt. So it could be that if you are giving 18th attempt only or 23rd attempt only, might be the 10th attempt would be easy. Those snaps says that we will be looking after this thing and we'll be normalizing it, but it generally doesn't happen, right? So yes, so better is that if you're giving two attempts, I would suggest, right, and even one attempt will suffice the reason, right? Now the snap pattern. Now the snap test, you know that there are different sections in it. Now one is general English, where we have to cover reading comprehension, verbal reasoning, and verbal ability, right? Then we have analytical reasoning and logical reasoning in that. So we have nearly 25 questions in that section, right? And then we have cons, data interpretation and data sufficiency, where we have nearly 20 questions. So if you see, this question adds up to 60 questions, and marks per correct answer is 1. Remember, we also have a negative marking in this. So a negative marking of 0.25 for each wrong answers. So overall, if you can see, there are 60 questions overall, right? And 60 marks. Now, don't, if you're not aware of some questions, right? And if you're not aware of whether it's correct or not, don't go on attempting wrong answers, because you have a negative marking for this, and every 0.25 or every 1 mark would change your percentile by a much lot number, right? So we'll see the cutoffs. Generally, what's the cutoff, right? So the expected cutoff. Let's see the expected cutoff, and then we'll move into one by one in each of these sections, and what are different questions that are being covered in these sections, right? Now, if you see, this is the general expected cutoff, what I feel this year would be, right? So it's on a higher side. It might be depending upon the paper also. It could be 42, 41, 43 around for SIBM Pune, but a safe score would be anything above 44, right? So 43, 44 would be a safer score in SIBM Pune and SEM HRD. So if you are giving, if you are looking for different colleges, right? So the first four colleges is what I generally prefer people, right? SIBM Pune, SCMHRD, SIB Pune, and SIBM Bangalore, right? Then if you are an engineer and if you're looking for operations, SIUM is also a good option for you, right? And then we have different other colleges like SIDTM, right? SIMS, SCIT, SIHS, SSBF also. If you're looking for banking and finance, you can opt for that as well. But again, depending upon what other calls you have, depending upon that, you can decide. So first of all, you should not be thinking about a lot of about these colleges. Think about how to get good score, and then you can think about the colleges. Yes, for the first four colleges, there's a deadline, right? You have to fill up the colleges form as well. So just check the deadline. Pune is already gone, right? And SCMHRD is gone. So depending upon the other colleges have different deadlines, right? Some of the colleges deadlines are open even after the exam, right? So yeah, so this is the thing. Generally, you should be targeting anywhere about 45 score for this year SIBM Pune, right? That should be a safer score for you. Now, 45 in 60. So you might have understood that how many questions you have to attempt. Near about to 50 questions you have to attempt, and how you have to attempt. We'll see that, right? Okay. So moving on to different section and its analysis. So this is last year papers segregation, right? You can see vocabulary. 6 questions were there on vocabulary, right? Antonyms, synonyms, right? Word-based questions were there, right? So 6 questions based only on vocab. On grammar, you had 8 questions, right? And then on poem based, it was 1 question last year. So this was the second attempt that I gave, right? So 15 questions based on that, and 15 questions of breakup was 6, 8, and 1. Now in that attempt, I didn't saw any RC questions, and I know that other sections, other the slot, the other 2 days also, we didn't had the RC in that. But can we say that RC will not come? We cannot, right? So it might be that in this attempt or this year's snap, there might be an RC over there, right? But we have already prepared in CAT for different and dealing with different kind of RCs, right? So then in should not be in that an issue in giving your this one the RC section, right? So the thing that you have to focus here is vocabulary, grammar, and the other kind of the verbal section, that questions that comes, right? Now in this, I would suggest you to look at grammar first of all, right? Because grammar is one place where you have not worked that much, because obviously if you're only preparing for CAT, in that case the grammar was not that much in that, right? Subject verb agreement, tenses, right? Parallelism. So these are some kind of things that you have to look at, right? So go through those things. And there were some questions which were directly grammar based question, like they directly asked you ki which grammar part it is. So those kind of questions were also there. So direct questions were also there, and it's not that not that difficult, right? So the grammar part was comparatively easy. So this verbal section, that the last year, right? So was comparatively easier than the other two sections, right? So I'll explain you the strategy also, how to do this verbal part. So first of all, you should just know that the different things that we have is a vocabulary, a grammar based, right? And also you have to practice a bit about your RC also, because we don't know whether RC will be coming or not. But yeah, it's 80 to 90% confirmed that RCs won't be there in your snap paper, right? Next section that we have is the logical reasoning. Now in that we have analytical reasoning and also the verbal reasoning. Now in this we have clocks and calendar, 4 questions based on clocks and calendar. Now clocks and calendar as a topic is a very finite topic. It's not like you have a lot of theorem, lot of theory, lot of different kind of questions in that. So clocks and calendar has very definite, very, very finite number of questions and type of questions. So this you can easily practice, and easily you can crack this clocks and calendar, right? So that's one. Then we have arrangement, linear arrangement came, right? So linear arrangement was there, two questions based on that. Now then you can see a series. Now series is one section which is like uh, very vague, right? Why? Because let's say any kind of question can come in series. See, if you get the logic, then it becomes very easy. But if you are not able to get the logic, then this becomes very difficult. Like for example, uh, we can come up with different kind of series. We can have a series where I can say, okay, it's a natural number one, it's a natural number square, that's again one, and then it's a cube, that's one. So one plus one plus one, that's three. Then second number two, natural number two, no, natural number two and its square, that's four, and its cube, that's eight. So 8 plus 4, that's 12, plus 1, 13. So 13 is the next term. Then 3 square, 3 cube, and I add. So this looks, it's not a direct square or cube of a number. It's basically I'm just taking natural number, square of that number, cube of that number, added these numbers and made a series for you. Then that series becomes very difficult in that case, right? So series question can be made difficult. So you should know that you should be practicing on those questions, and in the exam, if you're able to get the logic in 20 seconds or 30 seconds max to max, then only you should be solving that series. Otherwise it will be a time consuming point, right? You can come back anytime, right? So you should not invest your time a lot in any question, because you know that every minute in snap exam is very important. It's not like a cat exam where you have a lot of time. Here the time is very limited, 60 minutes and 60 questions, and you have to get 45. That means your attempt should be around 50 with a 90% accuracy, right? So that's why you should not be wasting questions time on these kind of questions, right? Coding decoding, it's very straightforward, right? So it won't be that difficult. So you already know those things, right? Then you have family tree, odd one out, input output, number puzzle. So you can practice these questions, right? So these are the different topics on which questions came. Fairly easy topics, right? Right. So if you practice 50 questions from each of these sections and you give your marks, then I think you can easily crack this section, right? I'll tell you what is a good attempt in LR section, and how much you should be attempting in what time. So that we'll see after this, right? Then this is one section where I feel most of you have not practiced that much, because obviously it was not there in our CAT. So we have to focus on this section. We have to practice some questions based on this. These are verbal reasoning section. So those people who are planning to give NMAT and SNAP, this becomes a very make or break section for them, because this is a section which can give you maximum score, because this is a very easy topic compared to other topics, right? And you will not require, because see what happens is I can set up a question where you might need a minute time or 1.5 minute time to solve those questions, right? But these kind of questions doesn't require that much of a time, right? And you read and you will be able to understand the question, and then you will be able to give the answer. So it won't take that much of your time, though it may be right or wrong, but it won't take that much of your time. So this is a verbal reasoning section, right? Critical reasoning, basically, you can say. Uh, it is having a very high weightage in our NMAT exam, right? And it's also having a very good weightage in our SNAP exam. You can see conclusion 3 questions, statement, course of action 2 questions, syllogs 1, statement and assumption, cause effect, and then word arrangement. So 3 to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 questions on verbal reasoning and 15 questions on LR, logical reasoning, right? So this you have to practice, right? You have to practice. You can practice this kind of questions from anywhere that you get the resource. So we have shared some of the resources. Suvam sir has shared some of the resources with you. I'll show you those resources. You can practice from there itself, right? So we'll discuss about that. So this is verbal reasoning. We move forward to cons reasoning, cons, right? So now in cons, uh, the different topics, right, and different places where Snap generally tests you, right, is numbers, arithmetic, algebra, geometry, modern maths, and DI. Now in that also, Snap favorite part is arithmetic, right? 7 questions, right? 7 questions you have only from arithmetic, like topic like percentage, profit and loss, SICI, right? Average, allegation, ratio, time and distance, and time and work. These are the different topics from which arithmetic questions generally come from, right? Then you have again, some of you, I feel, might not have done that many questions based on modern maths, that is PNC and probability, because uh, most of you might have already left that topic for CAT exam, because you get only 1 or 2 questions in CAT, and and people don't feel comfortable with this section of modern maths, right? But for NMAT and SNAP, this becomes very important, because the questions will not be very difficult, but you will get questions from PNC and probability. So you don't have to go into depth of PNC, you have to see the width of PNC, right? So I'll explain you how to do these sections, right? So this is modern maths. So modern maths, yes, 4 questions. Yeah, DI was not there last year. One question was there. 1 or 2 you can expect to be there, right? You can expect a set also to be coming over there, right? 4 question set would be there. So we don't know, like, so can we say it won't come? No, we cannot say that, right? But did it came last year? No, it did not. So yes, that is there. Modern maths, 4 questions. Geometry, again, 4 questions, right? A good 4 questions are there. Mensuration, 1 question is there, right? A very direct question. Like for example, they may ask you, ki, so they gave a question which was like the length and breadth of the wall was given to you, and they had to put tiles on that, right? And then they had asked how many tiles are required of maximum size. So basically it's a very direct question of HCF and LCM, right? So it's a question of HCF directly, right? So you just need to know the concept, all the concept, right? Like you should know coordinate geometry, you should know mensuration, different areas, some properties of circles and triangles. So based on that, you'll be able to easily do geometry from there. Then you have algebra, you have arithmetic and a number system, right? Now these are the different questions that we have, right? So we have around 20 questions in it, and a good attempt would be anywhere about 14 to 15, because generally in all the 3 sections that we have is cons, LR, and verbal. This section is considered to be a moderate section. The other 2 sections are easy or easy to moderate, but this is considered as a moderate section, right? So yes, so that's about the section wise breakup of cons. Now, if I say what would be a sample strategy for you, right, to crack and to get into SIBM Pune or SEMHRD. So a sample strategy would be the English section, which has 15 questions. The level of difficulty is generally easy, right? A good attempt in that would be anywhere around 13 questions, right? Now, these 13 questions should have an accuracy of around 80 to 90%, right? And suggested time from my side should be around 12 to 13 minutes, I would say. 12 to 30 minutes for this section, because obviously you don't have the reading comprehension in this, right? So RCs generally take more time, but if you have grammar and vocab, it won't take that much of time. Then we have the analytical and logical reasoning. Now, this section is considered to be a section where it will be a game changer for most of the people, right? You have to attempt as much as you can in analytical and logical reasoning. 25 questions, it's generally easy to medium level, and a good attempt would be anywhere around 21, 22 questions. Suggested time would be near about to 25 minutes, right? Because some questions are critical reasoning questions. It won't take that much of your time. Or let's say coding, decoding, or blood relation. It won't take that much of your time. But yeah, some question might take your time, right? Then the third section, which is your cons and DI, then we have 20 questions in it. Now, level of difficulty is medium. This is compared to the last year. For this year, it might be easy, right? Or it might be medium. Yes, it won't be difficult at least, right? So easy or easy to medium. Good attempt would be 15 questions and the time is 22 minutes. Okay, so this is a breakup of different sections, right? Level of difficulty and what would be a good attempt and what would be a suggested time. So if you see, the good attempt is around 15, 13, right? That's 28, 28 and plus, let's say 22, that's 50, right? A good attempt is around 50 with, let's say, a 90% of accuracy, right? So which comes out to be around 45, and then we have 1 marks negative, so it would reach around to 44. So this is how I feel you should be going about cracking your snap, and this should be your sample strategy. Okay, now moving on, what are the things that you should be doing? First of all, okay, so solve the past papers, right? Now see, past papers as in Snap initially didn't used to publish its papers, right? But later on, from let's say in 17, 18, these papers are already published, and you easily get on different website. You go, you search, you'll get the paper online, right? And then you can solve. You might be thinking the pattern was different. Yes, the pattern was different. You might be thinking there was GK. Yes, there was GK, and different time limit was there, right? But why to solve that paper? Because it is just a practice for you to understand what kind of questions generally come. You don't get clocks and calendar questions in other exams, right? So you get clocks and calendar questions in Snap, right? So there are different things that are generally only asked in Snap. So you should be preparing based on that. So for that, the best resource would be past papers. Even if the time limit is different, even if there's GK section, don't solve that. Don't solve GK. Solve only the section which is having a relevance with you, right? So solve those papers. And how much time it would take? It won't take that much of a time to solve, right? So you can easily solve 2 papers a day, and you have in the market, let's say 7 to 8 papers. So just first thing first, don't I would suggest is first at least 2 to 3 papers you solve at a go. Like as soon as you watch this video, right? Tomorrow your first thing should be solve at least 2 paper, or day after tomorrow would be solve at least 2 paper, so that you get the hang of how the questions generally come. That's number one strategy. Number two strategy would be cover the width, not the depth. Means what? See, it means uh, we have different sections, right? So let's say, for example, if I talk about only cons, right? So the different questions that can come directly. Like for example, you might not be comfortable with a topic like PNC, or you might not be comfortable with a topic like log, or you might not be comfortable with a topic like polynomial. But they will not go into depth of asking the questions based on that. Even such questions can come which are very, very generic. Like for example, if you have left quadratic equation and they ask you a question, um, what will be the value of k if the root has to be a real? If the root has to be a real, it has to be b square minus 4ac should be greater than or equal to 0. And then you just put a, b, c ka value and get your value of k, right? So you might have left the quadratic equation chapter because it's a lot of depth in that. But some questions can come very basic, very direct, right? So Snap generally asks you questions which are very direct. Some questions might be tricky, but you will get some questions which is just formula based. Like for example, if I ask you, uh, a decagon has how many diagonals, right? A decagon has how many diagonals? So in that case, obviously you cannot draw and get it. It's just general formula is there, NC2 minus N. So you're not gone in depth, but a question came, and because you left polynomial, you're not knowing this topic. You're not knowing this question. So you have to cover the width of the topics, not the depth of the topics, right? So take these different chapters which are there. Like for example, if I talk about uh, mm, geometry, or let's say I talk about arithmetic, you solve percentage, you solve PNL, you solve SICI, you solve ratio, average, allegation, time and work, time and distance. Don't go completely in depth. Just go to, like for example, if you're doing time and distance, so you should be knowing what is boats and stream. You should be knowing what is circular race, linear race. You should be knowing relative speed, right? Trains. Okay? So if you know these things, and I'm not saying in detail, but if you know these things, because obviously you have prepared for CAT. So if you even know the basic concept, you will be able to solve the most of the questions that come in Snap. Same will go for even for verbal, and same will even go for LR. Like for example, if you're doing a coding decoding question, right? So you don't have to go in complete depth. You should be knowing what are different kind of coding decoding questions and generally come. Like for example, there's some words which have been interchanged within themselves. That's one. There are some words which have been reversed and added plus 2 plus 3, right? Then you have some some letters which has been represented as some, let's say, some other different language, right? Like here is dry could be Tim Yong Won. So these kind of words, right? And then you have to just match whether this same word comes, and then you can understand which word matches with which one, and then you can do the coding and decoding of that, right? So different type of questions that are generally there. So you should be knowing different kind of questions, right? So same with all the three sections. You have to cover the width, not the depth. Okay, you have to cover all the topics. कौन से जितने topics हैं, let's say there are 25 topics, you have to cover all the 25 topics, right? It won't take that much of your time. Just at least go through the formulas at least. Now, third would be complete the topics which is not covered so far by you. Like example, I'll give you a reason. I'll give you an example. Critical reasoning. Critical reasoning, you would not have covered so far because it was not there for your CAT, right? Then input output, then silogs, right? Then you have coding decoding, or let's say blood relation. These topics was not covered so far, right? So you have to cover these sections, right? Cover these topics, cover this topic from different areas, right? So where can you get material on that? So one is, we have shared with you the drive, right? Our drive has been shared with you. There will be uh, different books in that. I'll just show you that also, right? Plus we have also launched a course which is only for these kind of exams, right? Other management exams, so like Snap and MAT, right? So these kind of exams. So we have launched that course, and in that you can see different videos are there on different topics, and then you have questions based on that, right? So that also you can do. Or let's say there are different resources you can go through. You can refer to any material that is there. You should be only knowing the topic, and then you can get the questions anywhere, right? So that is one more place to look for, right? So first cover those topics which you're not covered. Like for example, should you be solving everyday RC now? No. Before CAT, yes, every day you were solving two RCs every day, two or three RCs, or let's say one complete section. But now you don't have to touch RC. You are not doing grammar initially, you have to do grammar now, right? So those topics which you had not covered, cover those topics. One more very important topic is be flexible. I'll give you a reason and I'll give you a live example. I'll give you a proper example for this. When I was taking snap exam, right? So I think again 2019 and 21 also, right? So 19 cons was the most difficult part, right? So I started with cons and then I realized that it will take a lot of time, right? Because cons was my stronger section, right? So I started with that. I thought, okay, I'll cover more questions on cons, but then I suddenly realized, no, this section will take time. So I had to be flexible to move to some other section first, right? And comparatively that time, LR and verbal was comparatively very easy. So I had to solve those sections first, and then I came back to cons, and then I had to solve cons. So it might be that key, your cons is strong, or let's say your LR is strong, or let's say your verbal is strong. But on a given day, if by chance that section proves out to be a moderate or a difficult section, then in that case you have to change your strategy. You have to maximize somewhere else, right? So that is one place that you have to be flexible with. Okay. So I'll just repeat what you need to do. One is solve past papers to understand what kind of pattern it is there. Then cover all the topics which you had not covered first, and also cover all the topics in width. Don't go in depth in this for this exam. Like for example, if you're solving log, you don't have to go completely into log and solve, let's say, 100 sums. No, because this is a speed-based exam. Remember, it's a speed-based exam, and you'll not be given too much of difficult sums, right? So you'll not be given a question like CAD, so that you take 5 minutes in that, and obviously you'll not be able to solve the complete paper if you take 5 minutes for one question, right? So you should be knowing all the formulas, all the concepts, right? So that is one thing that you have to do. Take at least 8 to 10 marks before giving the snap attempts, right? I'm not talking about the past papers, I'm talking about the mocks. Where can you get the mocks? You can get the mocks in different places. Subham sir has already shared a link with you. You can go and check. There are different free mock papers available, right? With different companies. They are giving you a free mocks, or if you have already purchased some mock, like for example IMS or Time or some other company, then you can practice for them. But remember to give at least 8 mocks papers, because that will basically bring out your strategy out. See, whenever you're giving a mock, right, what does a mock do? Mock generally test your different strategies, right? So like for example, I start with verbal, and then I realize, okay, fine, I should not be doing verbal, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, right? Or let's say in this mock, what happened, my speed got slowed. Why? Because I had put more time in input output question, or let's say series question. So all of these different kind of strategies you have to make by your own, with your with your experience, right? So that you have to keep in mind. Give different mocks, then only you'll understand how to approach this exam, because this exam is completely different from what you were practicing from last 2 months. You were practicing CAT, which was not a speed based exam. Attempting even a 10 question in CAT gives you a 90 percentile, right? Which is not even 50%. But here, to get a 50%, you have to attempt at least 70% of the question, 70 to 80%, right? So that's a different approach. You have to take a different approach now. So you have to give as many marks as possible. So I'll suggest you to give at least 7 to 8 marks. That's a bare minimum you have to give, right? And try to improve on your scores. Let's say if you get a 28 in the first mock, try to cover more topics, so that in the next mock when you give, it should be 30, right? In that way. Okay. So and take a mock, do the analysis, proper analysis, and then after a day or two, depending upon when you have taken your snap date, you can give your mock. So you have to pace up your, you have to space up your exam and pace up your exam, right? Both. Okay. So that is one. And I'll show you just a second. So this is the link that has been shared with you, right? Shubham sir has shared with you this link, right? If you see, you can see different things that are there. Snap test exam when it is there, different section in that, right? And then you can go down and then you can see Snap free mocks available. The link has been shared with you, right? So different mocks, free mocks that is available. The links is shared. You can go through this. The cutoffs are there, but so it's on the lower side, but yeah. Then you can see free content for Snap. If you see, if you click this, you'll be able to open this folder, the drive folder here. Now you can see different questions, input, output, reasoning, right? And then some more materials will be shared over here, right? So there are some questions here. There are some different topics. Some books are there. You can practice from here, and plus we'll be sharing more in this section, right? Then as I said, we have also a session. We also have a program like OMET exam, non-CAT, self-learning, where you have different videos. You can see here 9 videos are there, and different sections, videos on that, right? Structure is there. So even if you want, you can practice from here, right? So that is there. So you have different materials. So everything has been shared with you, right? You have free mocks. You have been given books to practice from. Even if it's not enough for you, then you can go through the course. You can watch those videos, right? So that is how you have to practice and go through your complete snap ka this thing. You have to cover, right? You have to plan. So I will suggest start from tomorrow. Take a past paper, right? Solve it to understand what kind of questions generally come. Take a note of the topics that are there, right? See which topics you have not done so far. Then try to figure out how to solve those things, right? How to cover those topics first, and then give your mocks regularly, right? So this is a simple strategy, and this is your attempts that you'll be focusing on. These two things are majorly there, right? So cover all the topics, give mocks, and this is the strategy that you have to follow, right? Okay, so with that, I would also announce this that we are starting with CAT 2023 batch, right, which is starting from mid-December. Registration have been opened. So if you're interested, if any one of your friend is interested, you can let them know that we are starting with our new batch of CAT 2023. Plus for your batches, we are starting with GDPI flagship program, right, which is starting on December 7th. So registration have been opened for that. Plus decision making course is live, and plus OMET specific course is also live, right? So GDPI will be required for everyone. Most of you will be giving different kind of interviews of different colleges, right? So in that case, you have to at least prepare for your GDPI, right? Okay, so that's it, guys. So all the best for a snap exam. Any doubt, any questions, you can message me, right? I am there. I'll speak to you. Okay. Thanks a lot, guys.